Here we go. That's a great start. So welcome to SharePoint Dev Weekly, episode 45. This is the last episode before we will have a summer break because everybody will have a few weeks off. Director being Parker the Porcupine, of course. It is 24th of June. Summer is here. That's why Waldek is outside, right?
Yes.
For once, it's not raining in Netherlands.
Well, it hasn't been raining here for, I think, a week or so. So temperatures are good. And we also have sun, so all is well.
I actually wouldn't consider those temperatures as good. I'm fine with what's happening here. So,
stop complaining.
Whatever, 85, 90 degrees in Fahrenheit, 30, 35. No, that's not good. That's too hot. So
it's summer, right?
Yeah, sure. No, to be fair, we just had a midsummer in at least in Finland and Sweden because nobody else cares about midsummer except Finland and Sweden, which was weird. Yeah. Even Norway is not having that day. But apparently, so now it is 24th of June, so it's only 6 months to Christmas. So winter
is coming now. The winter is coming.
Yeah. and the days will be shorter now.
Yeah, exactly. Now it's all downhill from here. So.
Yep.
Let's just, never mind. So this is the last episode. This is the season finale on the season number 1 in the SB Dev Weekly.
Yes.
And we wanted to actually get Erwin as the visitor in here because I don't think not that people who are watching this are remembering this, but you were our white whale, which we were trying to get on the first episode for a while, and then we got it to you on the episode 12 or something like that. So that was a stupid long-running internal joke which nobody actually understood.
Yeah, I don't think that we even clarified it internally ourselves. Like, why are we actually doing that? Well, it's kind of, let's do it. Okay.
That's true.
I actually gained quite some Twitter followers because of it, because I was like tagged in every announcement also on Twitter. So yeah.
And it's like, okay, who is this guy, Erwin? Yeah, like we need to follow him because like apparently he's someone.
That's how social media works, right?
Yeah.
So, but I think it's actually good to hear that you gain some followers, because I think the number one thing, one of the objectives absolutely about the show is to get people visibility, get people who are sharing their stuff and knowledge and their work for the others, getting them people to be more aware of them. So, and I know for a fact that it's been working out quite nicely. So it's okay. It's good. It is okay.
It's okay.
It's okay.
It is the Finnish way to say it's awesome. It's okay.
It's okay.
Yeah. Don't go overboard on saying something is good. So
yeah.
Yeah, this is going so downhill, and it's Monday. So anyway, so what have you been up to, Waldek? What have you been doing lately? So anything CLI, obviously the CLI.
Oh yes. So we had another preview release of the CLI. We added one new command, which is our first step towards supporting the planner.
Yep.
So we have that in CLI. But then the interesting thing that happened to me the other week was I had an interesting discussion about with a customer who is on premises. And apparently they've been there for some time and they've built things like MS Access apps and side mailboxes. And now they want to go to the cloud. And only then you realize, wow, like you can still do so many things on premises that are not available in the cloud. And then when you think about migrating from on-premises to the cloud, oftentimes it's like, okay, so the content, volumes, the hierarchy of size, like you want to go from hierarchical tree to a flattened overview. But then if you, like many folks don't really pay any attention to the applications that they've built, right? With things like MS Access or side mailboxes or other things that are kind of still available on premises, but are maybe even gone online. And then to even know that they are there, that they are being used by whom and so forth. And then think about like, okay, so how do we move off that? How do we provide alternative, not to block the business and actually to be even able to go to the cloud?
Yep.
So that was kind of an eye opener, like the reality on premises versus what is like where we are with the online reality.
Yeah, and it's classic reminder. We've been talking about that one quite a few times in this SharePoint Dev Weekly, because I think we who work in the SharePoint framework and the let's say in the top of the technology and we release new stuff, we always forget about the fact that quite a lot of people are still in on-prem, which kind of reminds me on the recapping of just an pre-advertisement as well. We will start releasing new video series quite soon, which is Getting Started series, which is actually super important for, I think, a lot of the people who've been following up on the SharePoint dev story. And there's, new people who might be interested in joining on doing stuff on the development. The problem is that we spend so much time with the people who are on the bleeding edge that we forget about actually providing the getting started material. And it's like, well, everybody knows this. No, they don't. People just don't assume that. And
I guess there's also this another aspect that for us, like, I've never bought a SharePoint farm. I never paid anybody to build anything for me. So as such, there is no buy-in for me into anything from the past, meaning I can just move from one thing to another, to another, and I don't leave anything behind, which is not the reality for a company. Because when you get intranet, you set up the whole farm, the whole infra, the servers and everything, you invest. That is a big investment. You cannot just drop that and then reschool, retrain everybody, like, let's throw all of that away and then move to the cloud. Like, you cannot do that. And that reality mismatch is also like what makes it easier for us to just look ahead to whatever is new and shiny, as opposite to think like, yeah, but like, you cannot just forget about that.
It's also it's so easy for us to use the new and shiny because it's provided to us automatically. That's the whole thing about the cloud. It's just there. Next week something is new and shiny. We can use it. On-prem, they have a previous investment, but they also have to invest again to get the new and shiny things.
Yeah.
So
it's an interesting mentality change on the idea. At the same time, when you're in on-prem, you can control those releases, so you control the change management. And it still seems to be a strong theme for many companies that they want to control when the features are getting shipped so that they reduce the confusion for the end users, which is true. And it might be a good thing, but then when is it the time to just give it up, so to say, and say, well, new stuff is coming, and then people will need to learn to adapt those things as we move along.
I think the part of wanting to control releases also has to do with the somewhat old school approach of customizing the platform, where a new functionality could effectively break an existing customization, whereas in the new school customization, it will just happily keep on running.
I still remember back in 2007, I saw environments where a partner had created a solution which had certain business requirements, but then it didn't work outside of those business requirements. So basically, rest of the SharePoint was completely broken because the master page was basically designed only work with the publishing scenario. And if you accidentally try to use BCS or whatever in master pages, it was not there because it was not part of the requirements to actually make it work.
Wow. So, but that was perfectly the case for internet sites.
Well, especially internet-facing sites, but I saw those as intranets as well.
Something else, right?
Yeah, absolutely. But there was the intranet scenarios where global intranets, where we saw those as well. It was quite weird because then you're basically investing to a BMW, but then somebody rips off or locks down the 5 of the 4 doors or whatever, and then, well, but there's 4 doors. Yeah, I know. But you said you need to get in and get out. Here's the 1 door. Or something. It's just
but I mean,
what would be the right analog? I don't know.
Well, I think that you will take a car, it will have all the doors, but you rip out the insides to turn it into a race car, and it will race perfectly, but it will not be a safe car anymore to drive around with your kids.
Yeah, fair point. And the one way of could be one way of putting it. Now, anyway, Erwin, what you been up to? It's been like 6 months when you've been in the show, at least.
I haven't done much, no. So on the PowerShell recently, not many big changes as such in the PowerShell PNP PowerShell world. I mean, there has been a few more commandlets here and there, but the bigger change is because PowerShell so heavily resides on core behind the scenes. That's where it is happening actually, and just PowerShell easily It gets all the latest and the greatest, just like if you use SharePoint Online, you just automatically get the latest and the greatest, and the same goes for PowerShell. So the provisioning engine, where I've been mainly focusing on, has changed very heavily the last couple of months since the last time we talked. And there's a lot of new functionality in there, and that's basically all reflected to those two simple commandlets: apply a PNP provisioning template and get PNP provisioning template. Yep. So a lot of stuff happening there, and lots more interesting stuff happening. So we introduced team support now, which I think is really nice. We allow you to provision AAD accounts with all the properties, and there's a couple of things that are now in the pipeline of coming out. We are sort of settling on a schema to be able to provision user profile properties. Which is quite nice. We will not be able to introduce new user profile properties. That's unfortunately not supported in the APIs, but we can set existing properties. So
we keep on getting requests, but I doubt that we will keep on. We will be investing on that for now. So
no, you can also question. I mean, user profile, AAD.
Yep.
Where
exactly.
to store it.
Exactly.
And I think in the future it makes more sense to put it in the AAD because then it's available everywhere instead of just in SharePoint. But still, we will allow you to provision properties. And a bigger change is, and that is sort of it was not necessarily a technology decision, as more a mindset change that we decided upon, is that we now start to allow you to extract content. And applying content, provisioning content, we already supported almost from day one. Creating list items, uploading documents, setting properties on those documents, etc., etc. But now we will also allow you to extract content, which is actually really nice, I think. And we currently have support for all client-side pages, so all modern pages. We allow you now to export those already. So if you have a site, complete structure in there, we'll take the whole folder structure and all the files, pages will come down, including all the web part definitions and everything on those pages. And then we will introduce, it's not there yet, but we will introduce the ability to extract list items and also documents from a document library. Yep. There are a few caveats there that I won't go into much detail, but that's what we're working on. So that will come. When? We're
one step at a time. Yeah, exactly. So we will have a July release. I think we chatted about that one last week for the engine and the PowerShell, and obviously CLI will keep on releasing new versions still during summertime as well. So we'll like we mentioned, we will slow down on the videos and we'll slow down on the SP Dev Weekly to have a break, but then we'll restart again after a few weeks off. Now. We wanted to keep this one also slightly shorter. What I'm going to do, I'm going to share my screen and we can talk about a few articles, and then let's get back on the discussion. Here we go. So a few things, SharePoint Saturdays. Last time we didn't actually cover them. There was a few SharePoint Saturdays on last Saturday as well. But on upcoming SharePoint upcoming Saturday, we have a paging coming up, paging June 2019. We have Pune, which is in India, and then we have VNN, which is Netherlands, SharePoint Saturday Netherlands coming up as well. So these are quickly, let's have a look on those things. So SharePoint Saturday in Beijing. I think it's actually, if I remember correctly, this is the Microsoft location, but it is in Chinese, so it's really hard to see, but we can see topics like SharePoint provisioning service mentioned there, which is kind of cool as well. So quite familiar names and topics, Power Apps, Flow mentioned there as well. Now on the Pune, let's quickly have a look on there as well. In here, 10+ sessions, and I think we have the session schedule. There's the sessions. Developer, no, we only actually have Surfing, SPFX, and Microsoft Teams mentioned. I know that there's some other ones here. I was requested to do a quick welcome video in here. I'm going to do that and submit that one before that. But definitely development topics, and there's multiple additional speakers in there as well, quite a few MVPs and so on. So good setup coming there as well. And then we had the SharePoint Saturday Netherlands. Which are either one of you actually coming over there?
I assume Waldek will go.
Well, was supposed to be there originally, but I canceled.
Okay.
So yeah.
Too bad. Yeah, I'm not there.
I won't be there. But I think Paolo is there from the PMP crew. Elio is there, I think, as well.
I think, yeah, I think so too. Let's see, speakers list. Jasper obviously, Spencer is there. Elio is there. Chris Kent. Chris is still on his European
is
tourney,
Chris
so
there?
he's dropping
Cool.
by
Yeah,
apparently
because
as
he was
well.
in Spain, right? The other day. So he's all going like back and forth.
Robert Schouten, which we have a one article to open up there as well. Daniel Laskowitz, Thomas. This is a good setup of people. Martin Visser, Rico, Rick,
Paolo,
Paul Hans, Paolo. Yeah, that's really cool. A lot of familiar Adis and Pram. So it's going to be a really interesting setup in Netherlands this weekend as well.
Yep.
Now, on the other topics, what I wanted to quickly call out here, and this is a new sample or reference solution which went live earlier today, based on code from the engineering, which is an Instagram web part, and this is one of the things which we demonstrated actually in Ignite 2018. So we kept on having questions on when is that coming out, because there was I think there was a statement in the video or some of the slides that it's coming as an open source solution at some point. It's like, well, okay, we need to get it out now. So people were asking. But it's basically a simple Instagram web part, which is then using the Instagram authentication. You configure that in the web part properties, which is kind of debatable, but because you are actually giving the access token and a client ID in the web part. But as long as you trust or control the permissions of the site where you're using this should be fine.
You could rewrite it. It's open source.
You could rewrite it as well. Now the question would be, where would you store the information that it would be secure?
Well, yeah, then you would probably have something like you would need to have a server-side API secured with AAD. Correct. And then start credential there. But
yeah, it gets highly complicated. So quite simple. Does this job, you sign in, and then it's after that it's actually showing the information from Instagram based on the account. So quite simple thing, but a cool thing to do, and good guidance on the setting up things as well. Now this one was from Robert. Robert was coming from Netherlands, SharePoint Saturday Netherlands. User impersonation scope issue when working with SharePoint Framework API permissions. That's a familiar looking picture.
When I saw it, I was like, I recognize that design style.
Yeah. Might be somebody from this call who actually originally drew that. But basically, what are we looking here? This was around user impersonation.
The idea is that when you create a new AAD app using the new experience, default scope is yes, exactly. It isn't there, so you have to add it by yourself.
Yeah, and that way you can then call your custom web API securely from the SPFX web part, which definitely a really cool setup, which will give additional capabilities and possibilities for your solution. And this is nicely walking through the scenarios, click here, and setting up things. And I think, no, there's no final, this is how it works. Okay. But anyway, it actually works. So I think it's more on making sure that the calling and using the Azure AD HTTP line and SPFX is working properly.
Nice.
Good. This one was from William van Strien, and redeploy your SPFX SharePoint SPFX extension to SharePoint. So this is really around redeployments.
So the idea here is,
we talked about this.
I read this.
Yes, we talked about this one.
When you have a globally available extension, when you deploy it, it becomes activated. But then when you redeploy the package, it's going to be activated twice because it's again reactivated.
Yes, so as part of the SPPKT file, by default, we add the entry for the tenant-wide extension list, and the tenant-wide extension list, or let's say the feature XML processor, is unaware of double checking is the entry already on the list or not. So whenever you're redeploying, it's going to add a secondary entry on the list because, hey, inside of the package, you had the list, the entry for the list, entry for the item. So it's actually going to add a duplicate entry, and that will then cause a duplicate rendering of the same issue. So let me actually zoom in there and there, so we can see that. because when you're adding a new version in, you get that duplicated version, and then that's causing this secondary entry in the list. Because we're basically saying that everywhere in this tenant render that extension. Good. And this talks about the fact that how do you deal with that and how do you clean that. Handling theme changes. Handling theme changes using Microsoft Teams tab web part. So basically, how do we take the theme changes into account on the rendering of the things? So how do we adjust the UI UX based on the theme of the site or behind of the scenes? So quite nice setup on showing how to make that happen as well from Marco. And then as a final thing from David, backup SharePoint framework solutions, talking about that. How do we write a PowerShell? Obviously, PnP PowerShell.
Of course.
Of course. And then how do we actually get the files away? How do we save them somewhere? And how do we make backups out of that? So quite simple thing, but quite nice script also to see how it's extracting the files then to the local file system as a backup of a moment of a time. So really cool setup. And that's it for the articles today. We wanted to intentionally be quite fast on the last episode of the year. Any last words before we go for a summer break or a summer season? What are the things that people should be looking into if they have time?
To relax, spend time with family.
Yeah, absolutely.
Shut down the computer.
Yes. look how the yellow bright thing in the air.
Yes.
It's leave your phone at home when you go.
Do something completely different. Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Whatever it is else what you want to do, then computers, it makes sense to spend your time over there, right?
Well, I guess
people will have enough time for the rest of the year to sit behind the computer.
Yeah. And to be fair, in certain areas of the world, it's actually winter right now. But again, in general, it's a good practice when you have time off to spend time away from computers.
Yep.
Sorry, Waldek, I was jumping there. Any last words from you? Okay.
Oh no. So the one thing that I wanted to say is that oftentimes when you think of a problem, what helps is actually to do something else, put it on the back of your head, let it simmer for a while, and then you're like, I got it, or there's a better way to do it, or maybe not do it at all because reasons, right? Yep. So it's always good to step away from whatever you're doing, because otherwise it's like constant stream of input with social media, new articles, another SP Dev Weekly, another PnP video, another PnP article, another update to something, and just keep coming, and you want to stay on top of that without taking a breath and taking some room to think about your work and other things you have on your plate. So
absolutely, that makes sense. On that bombshell, I think that's a good reason to take a few weeks off. We'll be back on the community calls.
Catch up on everything that we've done.
Yeah, exactly. We'll be coming back on the community calls on 1st of August. During this time, we will schedule actually getting started videos. They are starting to pop up in the YouTube and social media quite soon. But until August, we will be doing, this was the last SP Dev Weekly. And thank you, Erwin, for a quick chat as well, participating in here.
My pleasure.
And we'll definitely call you in for another chat sooner or later. But thank you, Waldek. I think it was a great season 1.
Yes, absolutely. Season 1 is done.
Keep on using the hashtag SPDevWeekly, and so we'll know what you're posting during the time when we are taking a break as well. But I think that's it for now. Thank you, everybody. Cheers. Bye-bye.
Goodbye.
Thanks. Bye.